Brains. We're at the spot, the location, the place where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Today, Brains, we're visiting with Linn Lee. She is a coach that is empowering moms to live their soul's highest purpose. Moms do so much. We sacrifice for everybody, and we don't get our just due a lot of times, or we overthink it. Sometimes we don't know how to delegate responsibility and allow our children, our spouse, to be able to do things for themselves. There's a work life balance there. There is a duality. We can live our best life. But what is it when it gets into your soul's purpose? We all have a soul contract that we have to live out. So we have to know who we are, what our purpose is, but how are we going to be in alignment with that and feel good and not guilty? So Linn is working with moms to help them discover that. Let's welcome her to the show. How are you, Linn Lee?
I'm doing great, April. How are you doing?
As I'm doing good. Is Linn Lee, are you of Chinese descent?
Yes, I am. Chinese,
I know.
Vietnamese.
Chinese and Vietnamese?
Yes.
I've been to China, let me tell you, and I love the Chinese. Now, Brains, I don't know if you've traveled the world, but let me tell you, that is one place that you want to visit. It may be a communist country, but it's law and order. It's clean. People are nice. They're respectful. I absolutely love the Chinese culture. So thank you for your lineage and everything. But there's a lot of responsibility too with the Chinese culture when it comes to women. Women are I wouldn't say suppressed because they're not. I saw very progressive women there, but they're more subdued. They're more quiet. They are the matriarchs of the family. There's a lot of responsibilities, a lot of heritage, and a lot of tradition. Have you found that to carry over to your generation?
Yes, growing up, it was you do and you don't say. So I think I've grown up where it's been tough for me to talk about myself or to even like shine in my own light. And I've always been in the background doing the work and I let my work do the talking. But I think it's time to change that.
Well, this is a start right here. Are you a mother?
Yes, I'm a mother of three. I have three children, aging like in all ranges from 12 to 18 to 30.
Wow. So you've got to wear very different hats. What is the genders? Girls, boys,
So
combination?
my youngest is a boy, my daughter's in the middle, and then my eldest is a boy as well.
Now, as far as the culture, well, I want to talk to you a little bit about that too. Your boys, men are relished in the Chinese culture. I should just say around the world because they think that they're the smartest things on the planet, but they fail to realize that they had to come from a woman that gave them
Yes.
birth. But with your boys, are you still seeing in this day and time with culture, with grandparents, that they are still held in a certain prestige versus the daughter?
They are, but not in this day and culture. I think in this day and culture, I've seen and heard from my own children that there's a balance, that there's that duality of feminine and masculine, and that you need both to kind of be like one whole. So I'm seeing that starting to change. So
Okay. All right. Well, that's good because women are really progressive, and I just came from Thailand, and I'm seeing women just thrust in the forefront, and I'm just wondering how they balance both of those. So, what got you into this space? Tell us a little bit about your story and your journey. Why did you opt to take on this route of helping moms discover their soul purpose?
I'm a modern woman like you and like many women. And I think what got me into it is that I was a teen mom. I had my son at a young age. And so when I had him, all my focus went to him. And over the days and months and years of being a mom, I forgot who I was. I lost my soul's purpose because I was so busy tending to him, balancing career, balancing family, balancing children and juggling all of that, that you forget who you are until the passing of my father, which paused things for me. And it made me stop and be present with myself and try to find who I was and figure out who that girl was. And it hit me hard when I had dinner with, a few of my girlfriends, where one of them asked me, so Lynn, what is it that you want? And I honestly could not answer her. I was lost and I didn't know who that girl was. And so since that time, I went on a journey of finding myself, going in the way, looking deep down inside, building a relationship with myself, until I had the aha moment of my awakening and just being present and like hearing, like the messages coming to me so that I know who I was. And so since that awakening, I've been on this journey of trying to help moms and help others kind of find themselves as well, because I think sometimes we subconsciously don't even know that we're lost. I felt like I was asleep that whole time until I had my awakening.
Mhm.
And so that's what I'm on this journey to do.
Okay, so take us there. We're in the moment with you when you became, as we say in the Black culture, woke. When you got up on the real deal, how did you feel? Did you just have this metamorphosis of change? Did you go from a caterpillar to a butterfly? What was it?
I did. It was like that moment of what? I know what I'm here to do. I know what my passion was. I remembered that girl that was a teenager before I had kids, what I loved to do, what I wanted to do. And that was just to like be more spiritual, be more connected with myself, and just to help people, realize what they're on this earth to do. We're on this earth, our bodies are our vehicles, our eyes are the windshields, and everything that we see it through it are perspectives of how we feel inside. So
Absolutely.
if we don't work on the inside, our outer world is not going to be great. But if you work on your inside and you're feeling good, your outer world is going to reflect that.
Can I dial back and ask you a personal question? Were you married
Sure.
when you had your first child, or you were your
No,
stage mom? How did that resonate with the family?
I think I've always lived in my masculinity,
Mm.
being the oldest, having to take care of like my parents growing up, not speaking the language, having to translate for them. And then when I had my son, I didn't feel the need to have to get married because I could take care of myself. And so always living in my masculinity, like I didn't know how to be feminine per se.
Right.
So now I'm really,
Or should we redefine that? What society says your femininity should,
yes.
because now it's changed so much.
Yes. And so once I've connected with my femininity, letting go of what society norms are, I've really learned to love myself. And every day is a remembrance of who I am. And it's just so joyful and so liberating. And that's what I want to bring women to. Like I've taken courses in school where there's this one that stuck to me. It's from Plato, the allegory of the caves,
Mm,
where I don't know if you've heard of that, but where like people are in the caves and they see their shadows and that's what they think their reality is.
right,
Until one day they come out of the cave and they realize that's not reality, that there's so much more to life and to this world than there is that we're kind of subdued to, you
right,
know? So I want to be that guiding light to moms. I want to be, like you do not have to be everything to everyone and put yourself aside.
right.
I want them to take time for themselves because they're so worth it. And a lot of moms don't do that. They feel like, I'm okay if my kids are okay. I'm okay if my husband's okay. But they don't take time to be okay themselves.
Exactly. Or they
Hmm.
don't even identify with what okay is.
Hmm.
They suppress their thoughts, their dreams, their desires,
Hmm.
and I can say honestly, that's never been me. My husband was so wonderful. He says, "Baby, I think you're the most beautiful woman in the world. And will you do me the honor of bearing my child?" I was like, "Oh, back to me." I said, "Okay." But I wanted a second child. And he said, "No, I've got other children." He says, "And I want to live our golden years together." I listened to him. And when I listened to him, I was able to position myself because folks change their mind, Lynn, you know.
Hmm.
And you
Yes.
got a bunch of kids and you sitting there because that's what you wanted, but that's not what your partner wanted.
Hmm.
You still have to find your identity. And in that, I did that. I said, okay. This is fine. I can be a mother, I can be a wife, but I can also be April. What are my dreams? How do you help mothers pull back the layers and say, you know what? Okay, I've been a mother of three. I've, done this, I've sacrificed that. How do you help them find their identity? Because they're lost. They don't even know how to discover that.
So in my work, it's not a one size fits all. Think of it as a buffet of life.
Mm,
You're going to have different modalities because we're all unique. What might work for me or for you might not work for another person. So it's through like all the things that I've gone through that I would introduce to moms and kind of help them. So it would be through eating because one of my great mentors, she always said, watch your holes. So meaning what we watch through our eyes, what we put in our mouths, who we are with sexually. And so I think, what I do is I kind of go through like eating healthy, herbology, we can do breath work, there's meditation, there's mirror work. So there's many ways to kind of help moms depending on what their needs are.
well, two of them that you mentioned that I have really been doing. I bought a beautiful poster of different mudras, hand
Mm.
mudras, and they work. you know, you don't think some of this stuff works. They really work when I'm having certain conversations, when I'm looking at certain power players on television or this, I see how they position their hands and how it connects the energy. Also, the breath work. So I combine the mudras with the breath work, and I'm feeling a certain change
Mhm.
metabolically in
Yes.
my body. I really
Hmm.
and in my mind. Also, meditation. I had to pull back on the meditation because I was getting these massive downloads. And with the
Oh,
downloads, I felt like I had to act on them. But when I asked Spirit, I said, you know what? Can you slow this down? Can you give this to me in bite sized pieces? I was getting overwhelmed. And it was like a piece to a puzzle. I give this to you. You process it when you need to process it. You use it when you need to use it. So, again, there's
mhm.
still a balance when you are introduced to a new self. Do you work with the mothers and your clients when they find this new awakening? Because it's a whole different person that they're introduced to.
It's kind of a remembrance. So it's not really like a whole new person that they're introduced to because that's who they really are. So it's just remembering who they were. Because I think from the age of 0 to 12, I want to say we are our truest essence of who we really are. And from there on, we change our true nature to fit into society. Kids go to school and you're learning that, hey, to fit in, I have to be funny or I have to wear certain clothing. So you change who you are to fit with society. And then over time, through those patterns of learned behavior, or you can even say that it's a survival instinct. We change, we become someone who we're really not. So it's kind of going back home to who you really are. So that's
Okay.
what it is.
All right. Because and that's very clear because a lot
Yes.
of times people they feel like a girlfriend of mine. She got a gastric bypass, and she was a thickum, and she had this beautiful uh, raven tattooed on her back. And then she went and had gastric bypass. Well, the raven went to a crow.
Oh.
Wings gone. But but she really had a hard time adjusting because she didn't realize who she was. She didn't know who she was in the thin suit. She had been comfortable and had adapted to who she was. So again, like you said, it's remembering who you were before you took on this new life.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a CD where you've ingrained these patterns of learned behaviors within you to fit in or to survive. And so it's kind of just scratching those patterns that you learned that served you at that time, but it may not serve you now. And it's creating new patterns to serve you.
Absolutely. And you're
Mhm.
able to replay it over.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
that's fun. So tell me, what are you pouring into your daughter?
Oh, my,
You have an opportunity to mold a mind. What are you pouring into her as a woman?
So my daughter is one of my best teachers, I would say. Like we are the best of friends. And she tells me all the time that I'm one of her best friends, and it just brings so much joy to me. So what I pour into her, and even with my boys, is I always teach them about life. I try not to sugarcoat stuff for them because you know what? It's a dog eat dog world. And I think by sugarcoating things for them, it's not bringing them into reality. So my daughter has taught me throughout the years to um to just be more myself, to have a better relationship with myself. And I think she's the one that kind of pushed me into remembering, like, Mom, you don't always have to be the strong one. You don't have to be the one to take care of everything. So she holds such a special part of my heart.
Okay, your boys. Um, it's hard. Are you married?
No.
Okay. Or do they have a relationship with their father?
Some of them do.
Okay. So it's hard for a woman to raise a man. There's just, they're hunters and gatherers. There's just something about that that's different. What are you trying to instill in your sons about being a partner with a woman?
So what I've instilled in them is to show respect. This world, Mother Nature, we all came from a woman. So you respect women,
Right.
first and foremost. And I think through their upbringing, I was a busy mom trying to juggle everything. So my parents did help me a lot with them. And so my parents raised them most of the time because I was so busy at work. And so, my father was there. I was very blessed and fortunate to have my father there, my mother there to help me mold them into the men that they are. And, I have nothing but the best to say about them because they're so respectful, they're so compassionate, and then they're so loving towards humanity.
Right. And they're so important because now, in this day and age, it is a duality. And
Mhm.
sometimes the scale has tilted more towards women than men because, just as an example, your situation, you had to be there as a single parent to raise, your children. So you had to be extra strong. You couldn't show when you were short on the bills or when you couldn't do recreational things or you couldn't show up at certain events because you were the hard charger, you were driving.
Mhm.
I have seen in the Black culture during the unfortunate crack epidemic of the late 70s and 80s, where the man was so emasculated that the woman said, you know what, Psh, I don't need you. And that made it very hard for them to come back and find their place as the head of the household. Me, I'm old school. I want my husband to be the head. I have no problem with that. He knows that I can pick up the slack and I can take care of myself if I have to, but I like to be taken care of. What do you say to the woman that is uber strong and, just feels that she's so independent that she can't be in a relationship where she's codependent? Because that's important too. You've got to have your own sense of nurturing and uh, self loving, but also to be able to share that with somebody else. What do you say to her?
So, I tell her because that was me. I can recognize that. And so I would tell her, that you don't have to be the one to do it all. You don't have to be the masculine one. You don't have to be the leader all the time, you know, put down your swords, and let him come in and do what he needs to do. But then when you do need to step in and take charge, then go ahead and do it. And so that's where I've been in this like latter part of my life is just digging deep more into like my femininity and connecting with her. And so, like I've learned that through wellness because growing up, I grew up in a household where things weren't like how they are now, where everything's fast food, everything's fast paced, everything is just quick. And so I grew up in a household where my parents cooked everything from scratch. And so, I've learned that like um you get healthy by what you eat, by what you put in your mouth. So I'm a big, big fan of eating healthy, you know, and we are who we are by what we eat. And to me, our
Uh,
health is the most important.
Let me tell you, uh, two things. One, my Chinese girlfriend took me and my daughter to this restaurant to have a lesson in mindful eating. I bet we was at that table for 2 hours. You pick it up, you eat, you chew, you become one with the food. You
Yes.
allow the flavors to touch your palate. You enjoy the aroma, you enjoy the conversation.
Mhm.
And I was like, wow. So now I just was in Thailand and we took a Thai cooking class. The ingredients was there was no salt that she used. There was the sugar was palm sugar. They used a
Mhm.
teaspoon that was so flavorful. They used chili paste. You know, it was not this additives and
Mhm.
packets of this. There was no fast food. I take that back. I did go to the Burger King, and girl, let me tell you, it was the best Burger King I had ever eaten at. The grease was clean.
Mhm.
The chicken was chicken. So
Mhm.
as we drive through the market, we go on these tuk-tuk rides. And some of the people were culturally insensitive. You know, they didn't know, oh, I'm not going to eat no street food, this, that, and the other. I said, you know what? Let me tell you something. Do you see these chickens that are hanging? What do you smell? Nothing. There's no refrigeration here. Do you see these eggs? When we looked at the yolk, they were golden. It was beautiful. I said, do you see these vegetables? They're not processed in some cellophane bag. So you are absolutely true to that. The herbs, I was not feeling well. They didn't have me pop a pill. They gave me aromatherapy,
Mhm.
gave me pressure points.
Mhm.
It took a little longer, but it took me a while to get sick. It took me a while to get better. So that is so important. And your mind, when you're cooking, it's a meditation. My daughter got mad at me one time and made some tacos. She was slamming the pots and pans. When she got finished, she says, the tacos are ready. I said, I'm not eating that. Why? I cooked in this and that. I said, because you did not prepare with love.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to eat your anger and hostility. So I tell
Yes.
you these stories, brains, to understand that it's not just the physical, it's not just the verbal, it's the intention behind it all that make us who we are, what we are. And this also passes through epigenetics and generations to our children. Let's ask you some fun questions, Linn Lee. If you were an appliance in the kitchen of all places, what appliance would you be and why? Don't tell me you be
I I would be the stove. And the reason why I would be the stove is because the flame in the stove, it to me is the flame of life. It's the flame of our passions, and it's what we internally have on that should stay lit throughout life. Our passions, who we are, who we want to be, regardless of, like if we have family, husbands, or careers that we have to go through, we still have to keep our flames lit. So I would be the stove
all right.
because of
Go ahead with your hot self. I love it. I love it.
that.
If you could time travel, go back to the past, stay here in the present, or project to the future, where would you land?
I would go to the future. I talk about being present, and that's very important too. And you don't want to live in the future, and you definitely don't want to live in the past because the past is already done. You can't change it, and it's who those experiences made you who you are today.
Right.
So I visualize and I think of my future, of where I am, where I want to be. And so when I'm thinking about helping these women, I want to put them in a place of where they see their lives when they're the most blissful, most happy, and they're living their life on their terms and who they want to be.
What would you say to a woman that's struggling right now? She is like clicked on to this podcast and she's saying, wow, Linn Lee and April Mahoney, they have it all together, but I am struggling. What would you say to her?
I would tell her to be patient with herself, to have compassion for herself, and that we did not get here overnight. It took us a while to get here, and that she can get here too, but she just has to have that patience for herself and that compassion for herself, because we all have to. We all try to be there like leaders for our kids, our family, our friends, and but we never have compassion for ourselves. And I think maybe that's what a lot of women do. We put ourselves on the sideline. Next day, the next day, the next day, and it never comes, you know? And you can't fill when you're empty. You can't fill into other people when you're empty yourself. So you need to, take time to really fill into yourself, because even like when you're in an airplane, when like when there's turbulence and there's trouble and the mask comes down, who do they always tell to put the mask on first? You put it on yourself. Exactly. So,
So it's nothing wrong with being selfish at times.
mhm.
If you were a flower in the garden, what flower would you be?
I would be a lotus flower.
You know what? My heart was telling me that because I used to always think I'd be a gladiola until I just left Thailand and they taught us how to fold the lotus
Mhm.
flower. Why would you be a lotus flower? They are beautiful.
They're beautiful and they symbolize new life,
Yes, they do.
new beginnings, you know. And in this life, even though we went down one road, doesn't mean we can't change our path. We can change our path to who we want to be. And so that's why I love the symbolism of the lotus flower, because there's always new beginnings.
And how it grows, how it
Hmm.
comes from the water, and how it blooms in so many different ways. It has so many purposes. I was thinking that I said, she's going to say lotus flower. So that's good. If you were an animal, what animal would you be and why?
An animal. I think I would be a lion.
Ooh,
I'm calm. I'm a calm leader, but I don't attack at first, like strike. I hold back until it's time to pounce when I need to.
I used to want to be a lion until I met the elephant. A Native American woman gave me two spirit animals. One was an owl and the other one was an elephant. And I got to go to the elephant sanctuary on this past trip and I looked right into an elephant's eyes and it was golden color. I communicated. There was a language there. She was like, I know you, or I feel you, or I'm calm with you. I got to touch them and they were so big and majestic and strong. And I watched them mother their young and how they were vegetarians. Biggest one of the biggest animals in the animal kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
not consume meat.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a beautiful experience. So we are a lot like nature.
Mm-hmm.
We allow ourselves, but we always want to be superior as human beings. And sometimes that is to our detriment.
Yes.
What do your clients have to look forward to when they work with you?
Well, they will see someone who is non-judgmental, someone who is open to who they are and accepting. And, because I know that we're all unique human beings. We're here on this earth for a purpose. And I'm not here to judge you. I'm just here to help guide you, along the path of your soul's purpose, of your life, of what you're here and what you're meant to do.
Well, I think that that's wonderful and it's special, and it deserves praise because you could have just continued on the same path. You had found your way. You are strong. You are a flame, but you're also a lotus flower. And you are a lioness, very protective. So you could have kept all of those traits within you, but you've opted to pour those into others. And I thank you for that because you didn't have to do it. And women, I ask you to take advantage of this knowledge, to contact Linn Lee, have a consultation. You don't know what you don't know. Open up the new awakenings. Don't be afraid. Don't be suppressed where others have held you down. It's a new day And we are in the age of enlightenment. We're in the age of Aquarius, especially for women. It's kinder, it's gentler, but we have to know how to position that. We have to know how to negotiate it. We have to know how to strategically place it. If not, we are going to be at a loss and we're going to miss an opportunity. So we don't want to miss an opportunity to connect with Linn. Please tell my brains how to get in contact with you, or if you have any current offerings that you want to share with them.
So I am working on a 5-day workshop that'll be coming up at the end of summer. So in the meantime, they can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And on Facebook, I'm Linn Lee. And on Instagram, I am linnlee.wow.essence. So linnlee.w.o.w.w, right? Essence.
Well, no, and don't worry about that. We will type it out and put it all in the back of the interview to make sure that they don't miss an opportunity to connect with you. Linn, you have been a wealth of information. Thank you so much for opening and blossoming your lotus flower here with us on the edge. Brains, go and do your due diligence. Here's the address right here in your face. I need you to love, like, share, and subscribe. Love, like, share, and subscribe. We're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Google. We're all over the planet. But where we really want to be is implanted in your heart, in your mind, and connect with your soul, your brain, right here on the edge. Thank you so much for being with us, Linn Lee. Come back and visit me, okay?
Okay, thank you.